right. Welcome to the Allies for Justice podcast. I'm your co-host, Julia.
And I'm your co-host, Aiden.
And we have a very special guest here today, Renee Saucedo. Yay! And I would love to just do a brief introduction, if you don't mind, about Renee Saucedo. Renee Saucedo has worked in the immigrant indigenous rights movement as a community organizer, advocate, attorney, educator, and nonprofit manager for over 35 years. As the executive director of the Northern California Coalition for Immigrant Rights, director of the San Francisco Day Labor Program, and policy director of La Raza Centro Legal in San Francisco, Renee acquired extensive experience in conducting culturally appropriate community outreach and community engagement with marginalized communities. She has helped lead numerous grassroots campaigns, like the campaigns to protect the labor rights of undocumented workers, to extend benefits to undocumented families, to pass the California driver's license law, and to move just immigration reform policy. She led the formation of the Women's Collective in San Francisco, Centro del Pueblo in Humboldt County, and the passage of Measure K, declaring Humboldt County as a sanctuary county. Renee has received numerous awards for her community work and currently coordinates the Almas Libres program at Raizes Collective. Renee, welcome.
Thank you so much, Julia and Aiden. It's an honor for me to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We're honored to have you on our podcast. We would like to just start asking you questions now. And the first question I wanted to ask you is if you could just tell us about what led you to become involved in advocacy for immigrant rights, and if you could just focus on what inspired you to just even get into social justice and support the immigrant community.
Sure. I don't think it was just one thing that brought me into this work. It was probably a lot of different things, including my family's history. There are a lot of us who identify with the migrant experience because our families came from other countries. So my family happened to be from Mexico. My mom came to the U.S. basically to work, and my dad was first generation Chicano. His parents were from Mexico, from Colima and from Tepic. And so I grew up, with that experience in my family, just feeling love for my family's experience and feeling an affinity for the migrant community, especially the Latinx migrant community. As a kid, my mom, when my parents got divorced, my mom did not want to stay in the U.S. So she took me and my brother back to Mexico. And we had the fortune of spending some of my formative years living in Mexico. I think that really radicalized me because at a young age, I remember feeling very outraged by the way that dark-skinned people, indigenous people were treated, mistreated, a lot of racism, the extreme poverty that I saw in Mexico, and I think the activism that I saw was very, very vibrant and, cutting edge. And so, I don't know, it spoke to me. And at a very young age, I remember deciding I will always be on the side of oppressed people. And so, I really wasn't able to label these feelings until I went to school, and then I knew that I was a political person and went from there. So who knows why certain people respond a certain way, right? And other people don't. But that's how I responded to my circumstances and my environment.
Wow.
That's amazing, and thank you for sharing that with us. It's very, it seems like very close to you, close to home. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Can I ask something?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
So there was a event recently, just a couple days ago. There was a protest or demonstration. Was that in regards to the immigration registry bill? Were you a part of that? Or sorry, I should have asked. Did you go to that? I thought I asked.
Where was it?
Okay, sorry. So it was in San Francisco. I don't know where it was, but it was uploaded onto our YouTube channel. And so I thought, oh, let me ask Renee about that when I see her on Wednesday. And I was like, I wonder if she was there. And if you were there, I was gonna say, I wish we would have known more about it, like where it was and stuff, because we part of our podcast is we cover current events. And so I was gonna ask you about it if you were there. But if you weren't there, no worries. Just forget I asked it.
If it was, that's why I asked where it was, because we've had so many actions pushing for a path to citizenship through Registry in San Francisco, outside of San Francisco. A couple months ago, we had a 3-day walk from San Jose to San Francisco
Wow.
to push for the registry process as a way to allow people to apply for legal permanent residency. But if it happened a few days ago, no, I wasn't part of it. And darn, I missed it. I didn't hear about it either. So I hope it went well.
I hope so too. It looked really cool. I that's so interesting because we know you're involved in various initiatives supporting immigrant communities. What do you believe are the most significant challenges facing immigrants today?
There are an abundance of challenges facing immigrant communities, and they range from facing exploitation at work. Employers perceive undocumented workers as being very vulnerable, so there's a tendency to mistreat them, exploit them, break labor laws, treat them inhumanely, etc. And, I've seen this over the years with sectors of workers, including day laborers and domestic workers, restaurant workers, hospitality, etc., farm workers. And, these are among the most important workers in our country because they provide invaluable services to everyone. And so that's a biggie. Exploitation at work, intimidation, wage theft, discrimination, oh my gosh, sexual harassment against women. I could go on and on. Another challenge is because of immigration status, people many times are living in constant fear that they're going to be forcibly separated from their loved ones here and ultimately deported. So that means that people have to think twice about doing basic things. Over the years, for example, we have gotten calls from people when they hear that ICE might be in the area. Is it safe for me to take my kids to school? Is it safe for me to, go to the doctors, etc.?
Wow.
There's so many challenges. I mean, undocumented migrants still in most parts of the country can't get driver's licenses. They don't qualify for federal benefits and they don't qualify for many state benefits. So, so they have no safety net. That's why during the COVID pandemic, so many of them died because they couldn't stay home. They didn't qualify for unemployment. They couldn't tap into other kinds of benefits. And so they had to go to work. And going to work meant they put themselves and their families at risk. And a lot of people died. Here in Sonoma County, for example, about what's the number? I don't remember the number, but it was hugely disproportionate, the number of Latinx immigrants dying from COVID because of their immigration status.
Yeah. I remember seeing that too in San Francisco, even when a lot of the, if it wasn't a, I don't know, if there were certain businesses that were allowed to stay open and certain ones that were not, but the workers I would see still having to work. And I would think what you're saying too, but you're giving us like much more information on it. You're saying like a lot of people, I didn't think about death, but yeah, that makes sense because like they're having to work and everyone else is in isolation and getting vaccinated and whatever and not working out with the public that's sick or anything. Oh my God, that is like so interesting.
I mean, they've already risked their lives, many of them.
Yeah.
Crossing the border,
Yeah.
walking miles and miles, exposed to the elements, exposed to, criminal activity, women especially, exposed to violence, and then they arrive because they need to put food on their kids' tables in their home country if they're not able to bring them here, which causes another level of trauma. So many people are forced to leave their loved ones behind, including children, young children, including elderly parents, and they're not able to travel to see them. So it's just layer upon layer of challenges: physical, emotional, spiritual.
Yeah. Ooh. Speaking of the registry bill that you mentioned earlier on previously, did you want to ask her?
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask, well, what your perspective was on the new immigration registry bill, and like why that legislation could be crucial at this point, especially of the time. And then if the bill was passed, how do you think the lives of undocumented immigrants will be changed? And do you think some of the problems that we just talked about could be resolved because of this registry?
Well, I wholeheartedly 100% support the registry bill, or HR 1511 and SB 2606. We call it the registry bill. Wholeheartedly support it, namely because the undocumented community supports it. And why does the undocumented community support it? Because it's the first policy proposal after decades and decades of unjust proposals being introduced in Congress that simply addresses the need for a reasonable process so that people who are undocumented can apply for legal permanent residency. We can no longer tolerate temporary programs, although while at the time they were beneficial, like DACA and TPS, right? It protected people from deportation. We need a permanent solution to the fact that millions and millions of people cannot adjust their status. Can you imagine at least 11 million people in this country cannot get their legal status? That's more people than every single state in the country except for 8. That's a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And not so. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that it's purposeful that we have this huge pool of exploitable workers. But so the registry bill would have a huge impact because what it would do is simply adjust an already existing immigration law which says, it was passed back in 1929, which says that if you are undocumented and you've lived in the country since a certain date, then you are eligible to apply for legal permanent residency. What the registry bill is proposing is that we not give an updated date, but rather we give a length of time. So under the current registry proposal, if people are living in the U.S. continuously for 7 years, then and have good moral character, which means they don't have any felony convictions, then they can apply for legal permanent residency. This is huge. This is huge. It's estimated that about 8 million people would qualify. And, it would impact future migrants because then we would have a process in place. We wouldn't have to pass immigration reform every few years. So we support it. Our members at Raizes Collective and the Northern California Coalition for Just Immigration Reform, a few years ago, we've made the registry process, the registry bill, our priority. And so we are part of a national campaign to push for a path to citizenship through registry. We can't spend all our time lobbying for a particular bill, but we educate and we advocate around the concept of needing a path to citizenship through the registry process. And, the best advocates, of course, are undocumented migrants themselves who say, yeah, I haven't seen my parents in 25 years. I haven't seen my children in 15 years. The emotional distress that causes is a distress not only for undocumented families, but for all of us, because we're all interconnected somehow. So this country has to heal, and the best way to heal is to pass a path to citizenship through the registry process.
Yeah, totally. That is and I know it's like the process is so complicated to pass a bill and stuff. I think like we were reading about it ourselves, and there's nothing to add because you explained it so well. So thank you so much for doing that. Yeah, that would be really great to just move it to instead of like early 1900s, late 1900s, and then like keep doing that, to have the new bill be like, well, if you've been here for 7 years and you're not like a felon, like you said, like you mentioned, then you can there's a direct path to citizenship, and that would make it better for like the future generations. Just make it easy and have like a sort of system and like a structure, and instead of kind of seeing how, because our politics, the Senate, whatever happens in the Senate, the House, whoever's president, that bill would still exist, and so that would be more like consistent and steady.
Exactly.
That would be great for then everyone would know like everyone's on the same boat. Like this is just something that exists. We don't, instead of being in fear of like a temporary thing might exist now, but who knows if it'll exist later, and living life that way is just so stressful. And it would be better for everyone, it sounds like. Thank you so much for explaining that. And we do also plan to we would like to interview some like day laborers or farm workers or some workers who are directly involved in this. We wanted to do like a part 2, like first interview Renee and then interview workers, and that would be this part 1, and that's part 2, so that could be like a full picture for our viewers.
That's a great idea. Their voices are the most important voices.
Exactly.
So that's wonderful.
I'm so happy you said that, because I actually wanted to ask you if you would be willing to share a story with us that, a story like maybe you're like really proud of like, because you have been so involved. You have like, you have a legal background, you're educated, you've been involved in various organizations, and we would love to hear just like one story you'd like to share, like you were proud of, like you saw the work you were whether you were a part of it with the organization or you know, however that was created, where the outcome of all of this efforts, there was some like something positive came out of it, a difference, a change, so that our viewers could be inspired that, hey, people like you exist, and hey, change does happen. There is results, like, and we know that happens, but we would love to share that if you would love to share a story with us.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just because I've been around for a long time, there are a lot of stories, but I'll pick one that is most recent. And, you know, I'm inspired by the people who I get to work with, who are undocumented migrants, undocumented workers, and families. They inspire me every day, and that's why I chose to do this work my whole life. And I love it. I'm so lucky. I'm the luckiest woman in the whole wide world. But recently, I mentioned that our regional coalition, the Northern California Coalition for Just Immigration Reform, we've been around for 3 or 4 years, working to really push the registry process as a solution so that millions of people can gain access to their legal permanent residency. And we organized this year our second caminata, a 3-day walk. We walked from San Jose to San Francisco. And there were hundreds of people who walked every day. And they were workers and families and children and youth. With these caminatas, we've won the co-sponsorship for the national bill of many Northern California congresspeople, including Nancy Pelosi, who used to be Speaker of the House. And I think that if it hadn't been for this organizing on behalf of our community, I don't think that they would have been pushed to do it. What I'm most proud of is that we have involved people like one of our Almas Libres members, who is from El Salvador. She is a woman, a brave woman who has really developed her leadership over the years through our organization. She's very active, very involved, despite the fact that she is going through cancer treatment, brain cancer. And she walked 2 years in a row in the hot sun, talked to the media, and explained to the world that she was forced to leave El Salvador to be able to feed her 2 children who stayed behind. She hasn't seen her children in at least a decade, and she has a little one here. So if she went back, she would risk not being able to return with her son who was born here. And she fears that if she doesn't go back, that she'll die from cancer and that she will never see her other children in El Salvador again. This level of strength and courage is just amazing to be able to witness it. And it didn't just happen on this one walk. It happens every day. Every day, you know, undocumented migrants fight for better working conditions, better lives for their families, progress for themselves. So there are a lot of rewards in doing this kind of work. I think I get much more than what I offer to others.
It's amazing that you feel that way because you do so much, and it's so big. What you say, the getting the endorsements from them, from Nancy Pelosi and everybody else, is something big, and it's a big accomplishment. So, like, that's pretty good. I was wondering, like, yeah, there's like a lot of accomplishments. We can talk about it all day, but I also want to know something. Like, what's like challenging? What was something very challenging for you during your activist, years and all the things that you did? Really, what was something that was challenging to specifically work for immigrant rights?
Challenges. Well, if you are effective, you're going to step on people's toes. So when you step on people's toes, you know that you're doing your job right. When you step on people's toes, you start getting hate mail. I just got one yesterday. My Facebook page. Even threats. So over the years, I've gotten a lot of that. A lot of threats and people who try to intimidate. Public criticism is very common, when you put yourself out there. But, it's worth it. You just know that it's part of the work. What is more difficult for me is when people who I considered friends and allies, when they distance themselves. That is hard because, you lose friends sometimes. I've lost jobs because of my activism. And, I'm always concerned about my family's safety.
That's really crazy to hear because you're doing the work that everybody should be doing, really, and you're advocating for something that's very great and that's helpful for really everybody. And it's amazing to hear that people are threatened by that and are threatening you now. And I am so sorry to hear that. And I hope people will realize that you're doing great work and they will leave you alone, really. That's yeah. I can't believe you're going through that. That's insane.
That's like really interesting because I have a question with you regards to that. Is that like a new-ish thing, or is that like you've seen that since you started, or has it been kind of growing to that in the recent years? Because
that's a great question. In my experience, it's been about the same.
Oh, okay.
Even though we're facing like a new right-wing era, some would say fascism, I was experiencing these kinds of threats and public criticism from day one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting. Yeah, because I wonder sometimes it feels like we're discouraged to even talk about things, and I'm like, this is very strange. I've noticed at least like a difference, and so like I was like, oh, but then again, I don't know. I'm not doing I'm not really putting myself out there like you and the organizations and the brave people who are activists doing important work in our communities are doing. But I'm really shocked. But I'm really that's really interesting to hear because I never would have guessed that.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that people doing good things would be getting hate mail.
Right.
Like, that's so crazy.
But the San Francisco living wage has put itself out there, and you all are a part of that. The San Francisco living wage has been part of the immigrant rights movement, has been part of the movement for undocumented workers. And I don't know, I'd be curious to hear what Carl's experiences have been as far as,
right?
public 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 criticism or even threats.
It's like, I mean, I could have like a whole nother podcast with you and discuss this whole thing on there, honestly, because it's like really fascinating to me. Because it's a lot of that in San Francisco in particular. I noticed more than other cities that I've been to, but yeah, it's really like mind blowing. But yeah, I would love to ask you, because I know we only have like 13 minutes with you left, and I was curious. The Raizes Collective, they do stuff related to arts and culture and positively impacting individuals in various ways. I'm sure more than just arts and culture, but we noticed something related to that on there, and I just kind of wanted to ask, like, what are some of the like positive impacts that you've made with your time at Raizes Collective for individuals and groups you've worked with?
Yeah, so I'm so lucky to be working with Raizes Collective. It's one of the best organizations I've ever worked with. We have an awesome executive director, Isabel Lopez,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, our mission is to support the empowerment of Sonoma County's Latinx immigrant and indigenous communities. And we do that through art and culture. We do it through community education, leadership development, and grassroots campaigns. And that's what the campaign for the registry process is one of those. So some of the accomplishments through Raíces, we all, accomplishments are not individual, they're always collective. So we've been able to merge art, culture, and political activism together, which causes a lot of healing to happen and a lot of self-love in our community, which causes even more powerful community organizing. We've achieved forming the Northern California Coalition for Just Immigration Reform, which now consists of organizations from San Jose up to Humboldt, Northern California. We're part of a national coalition for immigrant rights and the registry process specifically. We have a dynamic women's group which supports immigrant and indigenous women here in Sonoma County through our murals and art inside the schools. We promote cultural pride and healing, and we engage young people in particular to participate in community activities. We're working with youth right now to make changes in the schools so that schools don't rely on just calling the cops in whenever there are incidents. A youth-led effort working with our sister organizations so that youth proposals, youth solutions are on the table for the school board to consider. We work with sister organizations like the North Bay Organizing Project on pressuring Sonoma County to end collaboration between the sheriff and ICE.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things that we've been able to do, and we're really proud.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so cool. Okay. That sounds like really beautiful and peaceful, and like things I can definitely see that improving your community. That's one thing I'm really noticing with talking about you. It seems like wherever you go, you really make an effort to to contribute and better your community and make it more peaceful and beautiful, and that is really inspiring. We definitely need more people like that in our communities, and to have the courage to do these nice things, and just in spite of any challenges, the challenges that come with doing nice things, which is mind-blowing. But yeah, the challenges come with that. You have the courage to stand up to those challenges and continue to do good things in your community. And so I wish you were in our community, San Francisco.
I was for a long time.
I wish I was there. Wish you were there. So lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to ask you. Is it okay if I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, how can individuals who may not have a direct connection to immigration issues get involved in supporting these efforts?
Yeah. It's not that hard to research what the immigrant rights organizations are in your area.
Mm-hmm.
And, just study up a little bit and see which one makes sense for you to be involved with, because, different organizations have different philosophies, different approaches, and it's not to say that one is better than the other. It's just a matter of finding which one best fits your skills, your talents, and your way of thinking about social change, right? So, just doing a little research and, just showing up. If they're having an event, whether it be a march or a rally or maybe a poetry reading, go to it. Meet the people who surround that organization. Get to know the issues that they work on. And then if you are able to, and, if you like them, then maybe start volunteering with them. Just ask them, what do you need? This is what I can offer you.
Cool. Are you an immigration attorney, or were you an immigration attorney at one point?
No, at one point I was an employment attorney. So I represented workers. Yeah, I don't practice law anymore, but I represented workers who had claims against their employers.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
That's pretty cool. Well, thank you so much again. I actually do want to ask you one more question anyway, before we end our session, or I'm not sure if you have more questions.
I do.
But okay.
Turn.
I want to just ask you one more question, and that is, what would you what's an advice that you would give young activists, and especially the ones that want to make a difference in the field of immigration's rights and social justice? So if you could just give us advice.
My main advice would be, don't let others smash your hope and your optimism. You maintain that hope and optimism, because that's what we need the most of in order to work with others to create change. It's very easy in this country to get cynical, to buy into the materialism. But if you believe that change is possible and that people deserve change, then you just follow your heart and the actions will follow.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yes, thank you.
That is really, really good. That's so true. Oh man, that's so good. Oh, I took that in. I felt like you were speaking to me.
Exactly how I felt.
Right? It's like, yes, that's so good.
Well, young women like yourselves inspire me. because you are in the initial phase of this work, right? Perhaps in your lives, I don't know.
Definitely.
You're in the initial phase, you're excited about it, you're curious about, okay, where is my niche? Where do I do this? How do I do this? With whom? I'm just excited to meet both of you, knowing that you are going to be doing this work. So keep that in mind, that, this world needs you, because not everyone makes a choice to do this kind of work. I don't understand why. It's so rewarding.
Right, right. No, definitely rewarding.
But yeah, don't lose that hope and that optimism and that love for people.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so good. I know. I wish everyone got involved in it like this. But you just made it seem so easy the way she talked about it. She has like all this experience, so that's like very reassuring. Still, definitely hear a lot of hope and in listening to you today, also, which is like very inspiring. And I guess we could do, because I guess we didn't get to do a little intro about us, huh? We didn't get to, I guess we could just kind of chit chat these last 2 minutes. Okay, so we are so excited because you are our first guest. And we are starting this podcast with the San Francisco Living Wage Coalition, which is under the Alliance for Social and Economic Justice. So San Francisco Living Wage has a YouTube channel. We're planning on creating a playlist for our podcast, and we're going to post it on there. And we're also going to be on podcasts. Spotify. We're using Spotify's podcast to post the audio there. And we've recorded a trailer, and we've interviewed David Frias, and we're going to interview Carl. We're planning on interviewing the workers for this part 2. And so we are just like we were so excited for this interview, because this is our first interview, and we feel very like we have such hope for this podcast, which are 2 main missions. I mean, and add or correct me if I forget something, are pretty much to do this, where we're interviewing guests who are activists doing really important work in our communities. And secondly is going to cover current events. Like we were at the Indigenous Peoples Day Festival in Yerba Buena Gardens in San Francisco on Monday. So we went there, and we were taking some footage and interviewing some of the performers, and and we want to go to like the Registry bill protests and walks. We want to take footage there. We want to get in on that action too and discuss that on our podcast. And is there anything else I'm missing? Is that it?
No, I think you got it all. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing. We're probably gonna be hopefully working with you, around you. So
you might see us at some protests and stuff.
Yeah. Well, just to let you know, our next protest is November 1st.
Oh,
okay. We're going to have a Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead procession from the San Francisco Ferry Building to 4th and Market, which is where the Democrats and Kamala Harris have their San Francisco headquarters. So if you'd like to join us, we'll be meeting early, 7 a.m. And we'll be walking, have a little speak out when we get there. So you should join us. You can dress Dia de los Muertos garb, or just come as you are.
Okay, yes, thank you so much for letting us know about that event.
Is it a 4th on Market, or is it at the Ferry Building?
We meet at the Ferry Building. We'll start our walk at the Ferry Building, and then eventually we'll get to 4th and Market.
Yes, would love to go to that.
Yeah, we'll go down Pine and then down Powell to Market. So good. Yay, I get to meet you both in person. Yeah.
Yes, very exciting.
But
Great.
thank you so much for this interview. I'm really honored, and we'll be in touch. Now we're in this movement together.
Yes. Thank you
Thanks
so
so much
much,
for
Renee.
joining us.
Appreciate you. Have a
Bye.
good day.
You have a
Bye.
wonderful
Take
day.
care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Gonna take us all to make a change. Take us all to win the peace.